As legend has it, Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman had the following exchange during the shoot of the movie Marathon Man. "How did your week go, dear boy?" Olivier said. Hoffman told him that he had filmed a scene in which his character was supposed to have been up for 3 days straight. "So what did you do?" Olivier asked. "Well, I stayed up for 3 days and 3 nights," Hoffman responded. Laurence Olivier looked Hoffman dead in the eyes and then uttered, "Why don't you just try acting?" The exchange is oft quoted to show the difference in thinking between classical actors and modern film actors. The former thought that in order to act, you need to know your lines, know your cues, and put on a good show. The latter believed that in order to be the best actor, you can't simply pretend. You have to live your role. You have to fully become whatever you're acting you. You have to method act. While this idea might seem extreme, I think our Parsha has an example of such a person. After 2 Parshiot partially talking about the Levium, in this week's Parsha, we finally are told how they are consecrated. It is a really weird process, but rather focus on the end result. Granted, the Levium are separate from Bnei Yisrael. What exactly is the status of their special role? Are they now inherently holy? Or was their consecration much more limited? An interesting opinion to explore regarding this issue is that of Rambam. In the 3rd chapter of Klei HaMikdash, the book that deals with all of the utensils and tools of the Beit HaMikdash, the Rambam talks about the Levium, and a couple of the halachot he records are very telling for the status of them. In Halacha Yud, he records the following din. A Levi who is appointed to be a Levi who sings is not able to switch his job and help his friend, the Levi, who opens and guards the doors. And vice versa as well. A Levi that is assigned to open up the doors is not able to one day help his friend and sing. A Levi who gets appointed to one task is not able to switch tasks seemingly forever. And, surprisingly, if he does, he is chayav misa b'dei shamayim, a very strong punishment. A potential svara to explain this idea is that while there is a status of Levi, that status does not make them inherently special. It just designates them for a specific task, and that task is the source of their specialness. And since that task in particular is the source of their specialness, their unique identity, they cannot change tasks anymore. In other words, a Levi is not holy. They are fully the role that they are assigned. They are the ultimate method actors. There is a unique decision of the Rambam that supports this idea. The Gemara mentions that a Levi is no longer fit to work in the Beit HaMikdash when he loses his voice. The Rambam adds an important detail to this halacha. That is only true for a Levi that is assigned the task of singing in the Beit HaMikdash. But another Levi who opens the doors or another task, him losing his voice would not passel him from his avodah. And this makes complete sense if the status of the Levium fully stems from their own individual role. They're fully immersing themselves in one thing only, and letting that one thing fully become what they are. You might think, nice for the Levium, a little bit weird, but what does it have to do with me? Well, this approach of the Rambam also explains another Rambam, one that affects everyone. The Rambam at the end, all the way at the end of Hilchot Shmita v'Yovel, talks about how Levium don't have an inheritance in the land of Israel. And he says the reason for this is because God is their inheritance. They are separated to serve God, not just in the Beit HaMikdash, but serve God writ large throughout the entire Eretz Yisrael. They're supposed to teach His Torah, follow in His ways. He says that they don't serve in an army because they're part of the army of Hashem. They are God's portion. But the Rambam doesn't end there. In his last halacha, he says that this is not just true for Shevet Levi, but anyone, kol bai olam, anyone who enters the world, anyone that dedicates themselves to serving God, to following in his ways, to teaching his ways, they too can be like Shevet Levi and become God's inheritance, and using the language of the Rambam, become Kodesh Kidashim. This extension makes complete sense for the Rambam. The Leviim are the paradigmatic example of the role making you special. But if that could be true for them, in their narrow role of working just in the Beit HaMikdash, that could be true for anyone. No matter the background, no matter who you are, you can rise to the level of Leviim, fully embracing God, following his ways, and consequently, God fully embracing you. Shabbat Shalom.